We're 2 hours and 45 minutes into a wrestling show with 30 minutes of blah wrestling and one incredible 17-minute promo, and the bell rings for the main event, and it's a girls' cage match. It's the one they shorted us on a couple of weeks ago when they ran out of time because one of the interviews went long. And it Becky against Bayley. And this was a good match. I'd have liked it so much if it wasn't in a cage, because, again, I'm sorry. I know the horses left the barn and people have lost hope and just accepted this, but girls in a cage. It's supposed to be blood and violence and a culmination of a goddamn, as I said, a blood feud or a personal rivalry with the history of broken bones and shattered dreams and people trying to climb the cage to save the baby face. And now the girls can do it. But this was certainly above the level of many of the women's matches in WWE and almost all the women's matches in AEW. And Becky Lynch is way over and Bayley can work. She's been used fairly blahly, but again, we're at the main event of this cage match that they promised us a couple weeks ago and then made sure that they worked back in so they could deliver, and they go almost 3 minutes and we go to the break. And by the time they come back, there's 8 minutes left on the air. So they have about another 5 or 6 minutes of cage match. And finally, Bayley is climbing to the top of the cage to get away, and Becky climbs up there and catches her, and they have a fight on the top. And Becky's trying to get her arm bar on Bayley, and Bayley's trying to squirm out of it, and she fell. She didn't take a bump off the cage into the ring. She just dropped off the cage and went down ropes and side of cage. That thing can be, well, I guess they polish them these days. The old ones where they just hauled them around on a fucking trailer for years, got rusty and be like a cheese grater if you did that. She'd have ripped her skin off.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a better condition than that.
Well, yeah, they probably fucking armor all them and everything now, but she falls off, and here comes Io Kai, and she climbs the cage from outside and fights with Becky on the top and kicks Becky back down in the ring, and then Dakota Sky passes her crutch in, and Bayley hits Becky in the gut with it, and suddenly music starts playing, and of course, it's Lita.
Of course.
Of course. So I know I fast forward a lot, and I know I don't pay attention to everything the girls say. But is this like, I mean, the people popped. They would have popped if it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it would have made about as much sense. What? Why? From where? It's Lita. She just happened to be there visiting and thought they've got her music queued up so she could save this girl from getting her ass kicked. Has Lita ever met Bayley? Do they have history? Does Lita have history with Becky? Is there a reason why, except that Lita is, as I mentioned, one of the only, big name females from the previous era that can probably still go? Why was this Lita, except for a pop? Or was that it?
She's a star. We need stars. Star after star. No, I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. Although, I don't know. How do you feel about the biggest... is Becky still the biggest babyface female they have? I guess so. How do you feel about her being saved by Lita?
Well, I mean, Ellen and Charlotte and Becky probably are neck and neck with their various proponents, but
Charlotte's not as over as a babyface yet.
Well, that's true. Last week was Greenville, South Carolina. But no, I mean, her being saved from the machinations of 3 different people. She's fought one in the cage. She fought the other that interfered in the cage, and she's being whacked with a crutch. I can see her needing help, no matter who she may be. But again, Lita, hey, great to see you. But how did it just, it was one of those surprises that you go, okay, but why would she give a shit? Does she know any of these girls? Where has she been? She's
been in Orlando. That's why they booked her. That must be why they booked her.
Well, anyway, she beat up Kai and Sky, and she slammed the door on Bayley's head and knocked Bayley into Becky's finish. 1, 2, 3.
And this could be the beginning of the Von Erichs Freebirds of the women's division.
I don't know if they have that hope. I think those hopes were dashed about the time of Becky's head getting dashed. But Lita's back.
And Raw rolls on. No, Raw ended. That was the end of Raw.
That's Raw rolled.
Raw hit
rolled
wall.
over.
Raw hit wall.
Wall 1.
I have to be honest. I wasn't into the match, and I didn't really care too much. For the fans that are really into that, I guess Lita returning is a big deal. I feel like she's the one that always returns out of all the legends of the WWE women's division. More than Trish, it's always Lita that returns, so it's not a big deal to me anymore. And I think after that long, brilliant Cody Heyman segment, I was kind of done. There was nothing else that was going to hold me to really care about the show.
But, just again, when they have 3 hours to fill, it's a lot easier getting good wrestlers to wrestle for 10 minutes than it is getting good wrestlers to talk for 10 minutes. If they made the matches more important and had not got themselves in this position, and it will be a long, agonizing process to ever try to recondition that audience to appreciate the matches at least equally as far as all the drama and pomp and pageantry. But it's never good when people don't really give a shit about the matches. And it's not because they're inherently bad. They're, as we've said, all the WWE talent is professional. It's just a lot of them are uninteresting, probably some by their own making, some by what they've been made to do or act like or look like. And the format is just flatter than a plate full of piss and just predictable and needs. Remember when Triple H first came back, they had some fights in the parking lot and some a brawl to start the show, and people, they're shaking the format up. Well, it all settled in the same fucking pattern as it was before, apparently, after they shook it up. Could they try to go back to, I don't know, a sports-based wrestling presentation where it's actually an athletic contest and people are mad legitimately? I don't know, but that's just me.